Hey guys, today we're going to work on percent of change. So our objective for today is students will be able to solve for percent of change. So on any percent of change question, we're going to do the amount of change. You'll want to write this down. So the amount of change over the original amount, whatever it was originally. Okay, so in this question, what is the percent of change from 500,000 to 60,000? So make sure you've got a calculator handy for today's lesson. So the amount of change, that just means the difference in the two numbers. However, it's real important that you notice from 500,000 to 60,000, if that is a positive percent of change or a negative percent of change, because we're going to refer to that as an increase and a decrease. Okay, so from 500,000 to 60,000, that is a decrease. Okay, so we're going to write that as a negative at the moment. Just remember that's a decrease. And then to find the amount of change, you'll just take your calculator and subtract those two numbers, entering your larger number first, which is what you're familiar with. And you should get 440,000. Over the original amount. Now the original amount just means what was it first? Well, from what we can see in this question, it was first 500,000. So we're going to divide by 500,000. Just remember that negative sign is representing a decrease. Now you're going to divide this 440,000 divided by 500,000. That gives you 0.88. Now don't forget, it was still negative, 0.88. So we need to change that to a decimal. So to a percent. So anytime we change a decimal to a percent, we move our decimal place 2 places to the right, which means that is negative 88%. Or you may see that written as 88% decrease because it went down in number. So it is a decrease. Okay, question 2, what is the percent of change from 5 to 8? Okay, so again, we're doing the amount of change over the original amount. Okay, so the amount of change means we just subtract those two numbers. So 8 minus 5 is 3. Over the original amount, what was it first? Well, it was first 5. 5 to 8, is that an increase or a decrease? Okay, that is an increase, so it's going to stay positive. So 3/5 written as a decimal is 0.6. And we'll change that to a percentage now by moving our decimal place 2 places to the right, which is 60%. And again, this one is an increase because we went from 5 up to 8. Pause your video and try question 3 on your own. Okay, so our amount of change, we're looking at 6,000 to 9,000, so we can see that this one's going to be an increase. And to find your amount of change, you subtract those two numbers, which gives you 3,000. Over the original amount, what was it first? Well, it was first 6,000. You may use your calculator to do 3,000 divided by 6,000, which is 0.5. And we have to change that decimal to a percent by moving it 2 places to the right, which is 50%. And this time, is it an increase or a decrease? We already said from 6,000 to 9,000 is an increase. So your answer would be a 50% increase. Pause your video and try question 4. Okay, what is the percent of change from 70 to 28? Okay, from 70 to 28 for one, we can go ahead and tell that this is going to be a decrease. Because it's went down in number. Okay, to find our amount of change, we're going to do 70 minus 28. And 70 minus 28 is 42. And then we have 42 over what was the original amount, which that means the first one, which was 70. And 42 divided by 70 equals 0.6. And we're going to change that decimal to a percent by moving that decimal 2 places to the right, which is 60%. And we already wrote down here that it's a decrease. So that is a 60% decrease. Pause your video and try question 5. Okay, the amount of change over the original amount again. This time we are looking at 1,000 to 10. Okay, so 1,000 to 10 is definitely a decrease. Well, I'll quit leaving that on highlighter in just a minute. It is a decrease. Okay, so 1,000 minus 10 is 990. Over the original amount, what was it first, which was 1,000? You may use your calculator to do 990 divided by 1,000, which is 0.99. And when we move our decimal 2 places to the right, we get 99%. And we already said that was a decrease, so it is a 99% decrease. Pause your video and try question 6. Okay, this time we're looking at the percent of change from 56 to 98. So this time we can see that it is an increase. Okay, so to find our amount of change, we're going to do 98 minus 56, which is 42. And then the original amount, what was it first, which was 56. So we're going to do 42 divided by 56, which is 0.75. And as a percent, we would say that is 75%. Okay, so that is a 75% increase. Pause your video and try question 7. Okay, to find your amount of change, you're going to do 10 subtract 7, which is a change of 3, over your original amount, which was 10. 3 over 10, when you divide 3 divided by 10, you get 0.3. And when you change that 0.3 to a percent by moving your decimal 2 places to the right, you get 30%. And this one is a 30% decrease because we went from 10 down to 7. So this one is a decrease. Okay, let's look at this first word problem together. It says a sports club had 200 members last summer. This summer, due to some renovations, it has 178 members. What is the percent of decrease in the number of members? Okay, so it's going ahead and telling us that it's a decrease here. So we don't necessarily have to put that in our answer. So we've went from 200 members to 178 members. Okay, so remember the first thing you do is your amount of change, or you just subtract those numbers to get your difference. So that is a difference of 22. And then you take your original amount. So how many members did they originally have, or how many members did they have at first? Okay, which is 200. So you would do 22 divided by 200, which is 0.11. and we're going to change that 11 to a percentage by moving that decimal 2 places to the right, which is 11%. Therefore, it was an 11% decrease. Pause your video and try question 9. Okay, this one is already telling us that it was an increase. Okay, we said that it was a percent of increase, so we don't have to say increase in our answer. Okay, so we're looking for our amount of change. Okay, so we started out with 9,350 kilograms of sugar, and this time they're ordering 13,651. So we can see that that's the increase because they're ordering more this time. Okay, so we need to figure out what the amount of change is. So you would take that 13,651 and you would subtract 9,350, which leaves you with 4,301. That's your amount of change over what was your original amount, or what did they order? How much sugar did they order the first time? So the original amount was 9,350. Okay, when we divide that 4,301 by 9,350, we get 0.46, which written as a percentage is 46%. It's okay if you put increase. You don't have to, since the question already said that it's an increase. Okay, let's look at question 10. This one does have an extra step in it that we have to take. It says the Louд Times had 9,990 subscribers last year. This year, after the paper was bought out, it had 80% more. Okay, this 80% more, and that's 80% more than it was here. Okay, so that 9,990. So how many subscribers were there this year? So the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do 80% of last year, which was the 9,990. So we would do 0.80. You're welcome to use the percent proportion, right? 80 over 100. So 80% times our of, which is 9,990. And that equals 7,992. Okay, so this 7,992, you have to ask yourself, what is that? Well, go back and ask yourself, what was 80%? Because that's what 7,992 is. Well, 80% was the number of subscribers that were more this year than last year. So we're going to have to take that 7,992 and we're going to have to add that to the 9,990. And when you add that to 9,990, you get 17,000. Let me write that down. So plus 9,990, you get 17,982. So 17,982 are the number of subscribers this year. So again, since it said more, we added it to it. If you see a question that says less, then you would subtract that number from your original amount. Pause your video and try question 11. Last year, wind turbines along with a hilly ridge had an average output of 440 kilowatt hours per year. The turbines were upgraded and now their average annual output is 35% more. So what is the new average yearly output? Okay, so we're doing 35%. I guess you want to see that in yellow. 35% of 440. So 0.35 multiplied by 440. 0.35 times 440 is 154. Okay, now what do we do with that 154? Well, since it was more, then we have to add it back to that 440, which would be 594. And that will be the new average yearly output. Pause your video and try question 12. Elliott's Solar System manufactures solar panels, and their business is growing. Last year, they hired 10 new employees, and this year, they hired 13 new employees. What is the percent of increase? Because we can see that they have hired more this year than last year. What is the percent of increase in the number of employees hired each year? So again, that goes back to finding the amount of change. So how many more employees did they employ this year than last year? Well, 13 minus 10 is 3. So they hired 3 more than they did the year before. And then what was it originally? So how many new employees did they originally have? Which goes back to last year's number of 10. 3 divided by 10 is 0.3, which is 30%. And we already know that it's an increase. It's okay if you write increase, but your answer is 30%. Okay, go ahead and pause your video and complete your exit slip. Let's make sure that you are comfortable answering questions like this before your assessment today. Chandler, an NFL running back, rushed for an average of 90 yards per game last season. This season, his average is 81 yards per game. What is the percent of decrease? Okay, we can see that obviously his yardage has decreased from last year to this year. So to find the percent of decrease, we will do the amount of change. So how much did it decrease from 90 to 81? Well, that is a decrease of 9 over the original amount. So how much was it originally? Well, he originally was rushing for 90 yards per game. So 9 over 90. When you do 9 divided by 90 in your calculator, you'll get 0.1. And then we're going to change that to a percentage by moving your decimal 2 places to the right, which is 10%. And we already know that it was a 10% decrease. The question's already telling us that it's a decrease, so we don't have to put that into our answer. But we can see that it was a decrease because it went from 90 down to 81. Okay, that completes today's lesson, so go ahead and complete your assessment on forms for today. Have a good day, guys.